Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. So in today's sit down video, I am going to be talking about a topic that I get requested to talk about all the time, and today we are talking all about boobs. We are talking about my breast augmentation journey. For those of you who may be new here, I did get my boobs done. I got a breast augmentation in November of 2020, 2 days before Thanksgiving actually, and it is currently September 2021. So I've had these bad boys in my body for about 10 months now. So I'm just gonna make this video. I wanna sit down, I wanna chat about my experience. I'm giving you my honest, personal experience, and then I'm also gonna go through some FAQs that I got on my Instagram page that some of you guys asked me about. So I wanna first start off this video by saying that for those of you who follow me and you follow my journey, you know that I am a bodybuilder. I do compete in the bikini division, and I wanna first start off by prefacing that my decision to get my breast augmentation had absolutely nothing to do with competing. I don't think as a competitor you need breast implants to do well. I think that that's kind of a myth. A lot of some competitors think that they need they need implants in order to be successful on stage, because a lot of bikini girls have them, but that's a complete myth. The judges are not judging you off of your boobs, believe me. If it makes you feel more confident, that's one thing, but at the end of the day, you don't need boobs to be successful as a bikini competitor. I've known pros, there are girls on the Olympia stage without them, so you absolutely don't need them to be successful on the bikini stage. For me, it was always something that I wanted to do. I can't even tell you what my bra size was before I got these, because I literally lived in sports bras. I didn't even fill out a normal bra. I was always very self-conscious of my chest. I really never had anything, I was flat. I was flat. And I feel like I had more of pecs than anything, because I did train chest once a week, which probably didn't help, but I just never had anything to begin with in general. And I remember seeing my mom get her implants when I was, I believe, in middle school, and I always, told myself, oh, I'm gonna do that one day when I have the means to do so, when I'm comfortable with doing so, I'm gonna do it one day. And then, I decided to do it. So that is really why I did it. And I think kind of establishing your why before you get them is really important. Really give it some thought, because it is a bit of a bigger surgery, and it's of course a bigger, investment and cost. And I'll go into all that stuff into depth, later on in this video, but it is a big decision. So, I definitely encourage it. If you're out there, if you're thinking about getting one for yourself, really think on it. Don't let it just be something that pops into your mind one day and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do it, because you want to make sure that you're confident, comfortable doing it before you go under the knife, right? So like I said, got my breast augmentation 2 days before Thanksgiving in 2020. I found my doctor because there was actually a girl at my gym who had gotten hers done, and I really liked the way they looked. Her recovery seemed to have gone really smoothly, and she was also a bodybuilder, so that was really important to me. So I actually scheduled a consult with her surgeon. Most surgeons, their consults are free, and I don't think all of them are, but for the most part, most consultations are free. And what happens when you go into a consult is you just go in, and they kind of just look at you and you tell them maybe what you're looking for size-wise and, what look you're looking for. And, they don't typically pressure you into buying the surgery right then and there, nor do I think you should really make the decision right then and there. I think it's important to think about it, right? But I, truth be told, only went to one consult before I knew in my heart that that was the surgeon for me. But I definitely recommend, if you are curious about getting your boobs done, go to multiple surgeons, do some research, find some really reputable, accredited surgeons in the area, or maybe not even in the area, maybe, wherever, but find a couple, go to some consults, and don't feel like you need to settle right away, because it's very important that you find a good surgeon. This is a big surgery, like I said, and there is, a good chance that things could potentially go wrong. So it's important that you find a good surgeon, and, my best piece of advice is ask, or, look at their former clients and see how their former clients look, and see how their former clients' experiences were. If you have a friend, if you have somebody you know or associate with who got theirs done, that's always, that's exactly what I did. That's how I found my surgeon. So I booked my consult. I went to that consult, fell in love with my surgeon, and one thing I will talk about is a lot of people go into, their consults thinking like, oh, I want a certain size, right? I want this amount of cc's. So that's how they measure the implants, is cc's. And a lot of people, I think, go in with like their heart set on a certain amount of cc's. But my best piece of advice would be go in with some pictures of like what size you want to like have after you get the implants in. So don't go in thinking, oh, I want to be, I want to get 400 cc's. Go in with some pictures. That's what I did. I showed my surgeon some pictures of some girls that I really liked the look of theirs, and he, looked at that and he was like, okay, that's probably going to be about this size in you. Because the thing with implant sizes is, it's really hard to look at somebody and to ask them, oh, what size cc's do you have? Oh, you have 400 cc's. I really want to look like you, so I need 400 cc's too. That's not how it works. Implant sizes are going to look different in everybody. It has to deal with, your structure, your frame, and also how much breast tissue you already have to begin with. So don't go in with your heart set on a certain size. I would say go into some pictures and let your surgeon tell you what's going to be realistic for you. That's another thing. Like I mentioned, I had nothing to begin with. I was extremely flat chested, and I really didn't have any breast tissue, and I have a smaller frame. And so my surgeon was very upfront with me and saying, Lexi, we can only go so big before there's potential complications, or before, I just can't fit that into your frame. So I appreciated that honesty, with my surgeon, because I know that there are a lot of surgeons out there that would maybe just tell me what I want to hear and not necessarily what I need to hear. So I appreciated that my surgeon was very upfront with me. So I ended up going with 415 cc's. I essentially told my surgeon I wanted the biggest size I could get, the biggest size he could fit in me. I knew that it wasn't going to be huge, but I really wanted to look like I had something. So he initially, going into the surgery, thought he was only going to be able to fit 385 cc's in me. He ended up fitting 415 cc's in me. So I did get 415 cc's. They are silicone, so they are not saline, and they are under the muscle. So I get asked that a lot. From my understanding, I don't think a lot of surgeons perform over the muscle implants anymore. Since it is over the muscle, it's essentially just below the skin, so it's a lot more susceptible to being ruptured. Whereas with mine, they're under the muscle, so they're a lot less susceptible to being ruptured. And it looks a bit more natural when they are under the muscle as opposed to being over the muscle. The only downside to that is the recovery time is just a little bit lengthier if you do get under the muscle. But I think in the grand scheme of things, getting under the muscle is probably the better route. But again, I guess it depends what you're looking for, right? So I did get under the muscle, 415 cc's, and they are silicone. I believe they're high profile, but honestly, I'm not sure. They're the gummy bear implants, the only implants that my surgeon used. He didn't really give me a ton of different options, but I don't think I would have, choose anything different otherwise. So those are kind of my general stats. Again, please don't look at me and think oh, I want to look just like her. I need 415 cc's, because like I said, 415 cc's is going to look completely different on you than it does on me. So go in, maybe you could take my picture and, tell your surgeon this is what I want, this is what I want size-wise. But I will talk about the surgery day. So the surgery is really only supposed to last, I think, an hour 15, hour 30 minutes. So it's not a very lengthy surgery. However, mine actually lasted 3 hours. And that just goes back to, I said that I told my surgeon I wanted the biggest size I could get, the biggest size he could fit in me, but I had literally nothing to begin with, so I was very, very flat-chested, so it was very hard for him to, fit the implant in me. I think he told me that my muscle was, really, really, not budging and not wanting to let the implant slide in. So it's normally a 1 hour, 30-minute surgery, but mine ended up being a little bit lengthier. And you know what? I digress. This is super random. I'm sorry if the lighting is a little weird. Keeps getting darker, keeps getting lighter. I'm using the natural sunlight, and sometimes when the sun disappears, it gets darker. But anyways, I digress. So surgery-wise, it's a shorter surgery. I literally walked right into the surgery room, laid down right there, and before I knew it, I was under anesthesia. This was the first time I had been under anesthesia, so I was a little worried, but honestly, it wasn't bad at all. I mean, it's kind of a cool feeling, just going under, then waking up, and boom, you have boobs, I woke up from surgery. I don't really remember a ton between when I woke up from surgery and then when I walked down to my mom's car when she picked me up. I truthfully don't have a lot of memory of that time, which is kind of weird. I do remember the car ride home from my surgery. I was in a good amount of pain. I get asked about the pain all the time, and I would say that was the worst of the pain, was like the first 24 hours. Nothing like where I was crying, you know, in that much pain, but it was definitely pain where I was pretty uncomfortable. Yeah, and so that I would say pain-wise, it was like probably a 9 out of 10 going home. But again, nothing that like, maybe an 8 out of 10, nothing that I couldn't handle, nothing that like made me cry, right? I will say I did not have an appetite for like the first 2 days after surgery, so it was a matter of me just kind of like force feeding myself. But I would say the first like 48 hours was the worst with pain, first 24 hours especially, and then it gradually gets a little bit better. I would say if you can make it through the first couple of days, it gets a lot better from there. I went back for my post-op appointment the morning after, where they just like made sure everything looked okay. I do remember the weirdest thing the next day was just the anesthesia wearing off kind of made my equilibrium a little off. So I found that, you know, when I would try to like stand up and walk, as that anesthesia was wearing off for like 24 hours post-surgery, I just felt a little like woozy. It was a little hard for me to like, you know, walk straight and to feel okay. But I went back for my post-op the next morning so they could rewrap me. And that's kind of like the whole surgery in a nutshell. I will say though that I would totally recommend, if you're considering getting the surgery, make sure that you have somebody there to take care of you, you know, at least I would say for the first 4 days. I had my mom there for 5 days post-surgery, and I'm a very independent, like self-sufficient person. I hate asking for help, I really do, but I would not have survived if my mom would not have been there with me for the first 5 days. And here's why. The first couple of days post-surgery, of course, you know, it's very helpful to have somebody there to manage your pain meds. Personally, I did not think the pain meds helped a ton. I did not take them. I think I took them like for the first day or two, and then after that I kind of stopped because I didn't really notice a difference. But it's nice to have somebody there to help you manage your medication. It's also nice to have somebody there to help you do the little things that you can't do for the first couple of days. So getting dressed is extremely hard. Taking a shower is extremely hard. You usually can't take a shower for like the first couple of days. Your surgeon will let you know, but those types of things, very hard to do on your own. Little things like opening up a bottle cap. I couldn't do that on my own for like the first couple of days. I remember the first night when I was home from surgery, everybody was asleep and I tried to open, I think it was like a bottle of water or Powerade Zero, and I couldn't do it. You can't do little things like that. You know, getting like the almond milk out of the fridge and pouring it, that was hard for me to do. Opening up the microwave and like pulling that, pulling anything heavy was really hard for me to do. Even getting in the car and like putting on my seatbelt was very hard for me to do for the first couple of days. So point being is you need somebody there for you. Even if you're not the type of person that likes to ask for help, you need somebody there for you because you don't want to mess anything up, you know, within the first couple of days. And even driving too, you know, think about it. If you're taking like really sharp turns, driving can be difficult. So I think that, you know, you want to make sure you have somebody there to care for you for at least the first like 4, 5, I would even say 5 days. If you can have somebody there for a week, that's even better. But those are the little details, you know, post-surgery. And so I get asked a lot, you know, about training and how I was, you know, how long before I could do things again, how long before I could train. So to be quite honest, the first week post-surgery, I didn't do much. I think it took me a couple days before I went out on even like a 10-minute walk just to get some movement in. Now, depending on your surgeon, I would definitely listen to what your surgeon says as far as like how long you can wait to ease back into things. Now, training, lifting weights, I could not do that for 4 weeks. My surgeon's protocol was 4 weeks I couldn't be in the gym. And then he said, after that, you can start to ease into things, Lexi. So I remember going back in at 4 weeks, and I did some lower body, and even lower body felt very odd because, you know, think about it, when you're holding things for lower body, dumbbells, barbells, it felt very, very strange. So even though I was cleared to work out at 4 weeks, I felt that it was very, you know, it was a very gradual ease back into things. It was especially for upper body. Upper body truthfully took me like, at 5 weeks I started to feel a little bit more comfortable with what I could do, but I would say it truthfully took 6 weeks for me to even feel like I had a lot of options for upper body. My first upper body workout, I remember picking up the 5-pound dumbbells and doing a lateral raise, and I was like, this feels so weird. It's not that it was painful, it was just, it feels very, very, very weird. Just like a stretch, like a pull, and at the end of the day, again, you know, this is a bigger surgery. You just don't want to risk messing things up, so you don't want to rush back into things too quickly. But as far as time away from the gym, that was the hardest part for me. It was just, you know, taking time away from the gym, since that is such a huge passion of mine. But I would not say, like, don't, like, just because my prescription was I had to wait 4 weeks to go back to the gym. I mean, listen to your surgeon 100%. If theirs is different, listen to them. You know, don't just listen to what my surgeon had me do. So I think I went through all of the kind of basics before I wanted to kind of dive into some of the questions I got on my Instagram. So, okay, so I'm going to go through these and kind of answer the ones that I haven't already touched on. So the first question is, what was the main deciding factor that made you do it, in all caps? So the main thing that made me just do the surgery was, I ended up, you know, I had the means to do so. I had saved up more than enough money to do so. So that was a deciding factor. And then, you know, another thing for me was like, I was like, you know what, Lexi, you're young, and when you're young, you should be able to feel your most confident, right? So like, why wait any longer to get these done if you know that they're going to make you confident, right? So it was A, I had the means, and B, I was like, you know what? You deserve to be confident when you're, you know, this young. You don't deserve to, you know, feel not confident at this age. So just do it. So I did it because I'm like, you know what? I've got nothing to lose. I've always wanted to do it, so I just did it. Next question. How do you, let's see. That one doesn't really make a lot of sense for this topic. Okay, somebody asked, does it feel weird to have more boobs after surgery? Yes, but honestly, it's so funny. It's so weird waking up with like boobs on your chest. Of course, right after you get them, they're very high up. They're very just like weird looking. But I remember going into surgery and thinking, I don't even know how to begin imagining myself with boobs. And now it's like, now that I have them, it's hard to imagine myself without them now. It sounds so bizarre, but that's the truth. Okay, next question. Is it possible to work out pecs after surgery? So is it possible to work out chest after surgery? My surgeon specifically said, do not isolate your chest anymore. I really didn't do a ton of chest work before getting my surgery, but I really don't intend on doing any like cable flies or heavy bench presses. I still don't do any chest work. Like, of course I do shoulder work, but I don't do any chest work. I think eventually maybe I'll be able to do things like incline bench, but at the end of the day, I'm a bikini competitor. They really don't judge my chest, nor am I really trying to build chest muscle, and I just don't want to risk it at the end of the day. I've heard some stories about people working chest and then the implant sliding out, and I just don't want to risk it. So my doctor actually, you know, specifically said no isolating your pecs anymore. So I do not train chest. Okay, next question. How long to recover? So I kind of answered that. About 4 weeks before I could actually train. I would say about 4 or 5 days post-surgery until you start to just feel like a human again and you feel like going out into society. But 4 weeks before I could actually train again. But granted, I was going on outdoor walks like 1.5, well, even like 1 week post-op. Nothing crazy or strenuous, but I was going out on walks at that point. But I wasn't able to actually train or weight train until 4 weeks post-op. Okay, well, let's see. Somebody asks, running or HIIT with bigger boobs? So I'm assuming they're asking, can I run? Can I do HIIT cardio with bigger boobs? So I do not really do any HIIT cardio. Well, if I do HIIT cardio, it's on my Peloton bike, and I have no issue doing that. But I haven't really done any sprints or like running since I got them, mainly just because those are not built into my program. But I do remember that running post-surgery felt like, for a while, running felt very odd. Even just a jog felt very, very weird. Now, I assume that the more if I was a runner and like, if I had gotten back into running, you know, at that 4-week mark, I assumed that by now it would feel super normal. But because I am not a runner, it still feels just a little weird for me. I have not tried sprints, but I do know girls out there who have gotten implants who have done sprints, and they're just fine doing them. I think it's just like, for me, it still feels weird just because I never do those things in my protocol anyways. So it's like my body isn't used to that feeling quite yet. Okay, so somebody asked, how long did it take for the whole pregnancy, body, bloat to go down? So that is a great question. So post-surgery, anytime you go under anesthesia, typically you're going to hold a lot of water the next couple of days and you're going to be very, very bloated. So I remember feeling like, I told my mom, I'm like, I feel like a water buffalo, Mom, because I remember just feeling like I was growing like at the seams. I would say it took about 3 days for my bloating to start going down. I would say it was about a week where I was actually kind of like, I felt bloated for about a week, but I would say after 3 days, it started to just come down and feel a little bit more like normal bloat. I didn't weigh myself or anything though, because like I do not recommend doing that. If you get surgery, if you go under anesthesia, you're so bloated afterwards, you're probably retaining a lot of fluid, and like, what good is it gonna do to step on the scale and see like that number being super high, right? Like, there's no point. Okay, so next question is, how long until your implants dropped enough to look semi-normal? So I still get told, I mean, I'm not trying to be weird here and show them, but I still get told that my implants look a little bit higher, and I'm about 10 months post-surgery. But I would say that, you know, when you get breast implants, they are going to be very, very high in the beginning, very high. They almost look like footballs, like they are up here. But I would say it takes about, I don't know, I think probably about a month for them to like drop and actually look a little bit more decent. I think it's dependent upon everybody. I've known some people and theirs drop really quickly. I also think it has to do with the type of implant you get and like what profile you get. So mine were high profile, so mine are naturally sitting up a little bit higher. But I would say it's gonna take like, you know, give it a couple weeks. I would say like by week 2, they're gonna look a little bit more like, not natural, but like they won't look like footballs anymore. So give it a couple weeks, and then you're just gonna notice that after that, they slowly look a little bit more natural from there. All right. Somebody asked, is the best time to consider this procedure during improvement season? So meaning when you are not prepping, when you are not dieting, when you are not at your leanest. I would absolutely say yes. I would not consider getting the surgery when you're at your leanest, because you have to think about, you know, when you're at your leanest, you don't have a ton of body fat to begin with. The implants just, yeah, I would not recommend getting implants right after a prep or during prep at all, or when you're deep into a dieting phase. I would say get it when you're at like a comfortable kind of set point weight. I would recommend getting them then, especially too because like it's a major surgery to recover from, so you don't want to put your body under, you know, even more stress if you're dieting or if you're on prep. So I would say if you are considering the surgery, I would personally recommend the best time to consider doing it would be during your improvement season, especially because, you know, you just can't train for a while after the surgery too. So you don't want to, you know, put the added stress during a prep of not being able to train for a long amount of time. All right, a couple more questions and then I'm going to wrap up this video before it becomes too long. So let's see, somebody asked, okay, let's see, maybe I got through all of these. Oh, okay, so I did get a question, any hormonal changes or can you breastfeed with them in the future? So no hormonal changes for me that I've noticed. Can I breastfeed in the future? Yes, I can. I actually did ask that. So yeah, if I ever have kids, if I ever intend on breastfeeding, I believe you can breastfeed in the future from what I understand. Obviously not something I've really had to think about, but yes, I do believe that you can. Okay, what was the pain like in waking up from anesthesia? So I kind of already covered that. Waking up from anesthesia was just kind of weird. I was very groggy, like mentally fuzzy. I don't remember like the first 30 minutes after surgery that much. And then the pain was the worst on like the car ride home from surgery, I would say. Okay, somebody asked, do you know anybody with injuries from the surgery? So I'm assuming when they say injuries, meaning like, do I know anybody who's gotten the surgery and things have gone wrong afterwards? Yes, I've known some people who get the implants and maybe they trained, you know, in a certain way that like caused the implant to bottom out or caused the implant to shift. I have known people that has happened to, so that's why I do try to stay very careful with my training. Not to say I can't train heavy. I definitely train very heavy, but I just don't isolate my chest muscle and I listen to my surgeon's exact protocol. Somebody asked me, have I noticed any health issues after getting them? I've heard that's common. So, you know, you say you hear it's common. I don't think that it's very common. I think what happens is we hear one bad story and we think, oh my gosh, like that's the story that gets blown out of proportion, right? I'm not saying breast implant illness is not a thing. I definitely think it's a thing. Maybe, I'm not sure. I think that there just needs to be more research on it. I just know personally I have not experienced any issues since getting them. And, you know, it's been one of the best decisions and investments that I've been able to make for myself. Okay, so then the last question I am going to answer is the cost. So I can't really answer this question like super specifically. I will tell you this though. The cost is going to be very different depending on, you know, where you get it done. I know my mom who got hers done in the Midwest, she paid about $3,000 more than I did down here in Florida. Now, one thing I'm going to recommend is if you are considering the surgery, don't try to find the cheapest option. Like, don't price shop. Like, just go with the surgeon that impresses you the most and pay whatever they charge. So price is honestly going to depend where you go in the U.S. And also, like, you know, places like Miami, California, they're probably going to be a lot more expensive. But I believe every surgeon always gives you two options. The first option is you can pay the surgery, pay to get it in full. The second option is you can pay in like monthly payments. I'm somebody who just likes to, I hate monthly payments, so I just paid it in full, and I didn't want to get the surgery unless I could pay it in full. So I'm sorry I can't answer that question more specifically, but you know, what I paid is probably going to be different than what you paid. It's very geographically different depending on like where you go in the U.S. So I'm going to wrap up things here. I think I covered everything. So, you know, now that I'm 10 months post-op, like I said, I have not had any health issues. I'm so confident with them. I'm so happy I did it. I love, you know, that I decided to do it because it was a little scary making the decision, but one of the best decisions I could have made. I understand that there's a lot of, you know, information out there about this topic. So if you ever have any questions for yourself about this topic, I will honestly answer them. You can always shoot me a DM. I'll put my Instagram below. So you can always shoot me a DM. You can always just reach out to me. I'm always happy to answer any questions you may have because it is a big decision. But I would say now that I'm 10 months post-op in the gym, I'm pretty much able to do almost everything I was doing before, with the exception of not being able to train chest. The only two things I really can't do, or that I haven't really felt comfortable doing, would be unassisted pull-ups. I can absolutely do assisted pull-ups, but body weight unassisted pull-ups still feel a little weird to me. It's just kind of like a stretch. It's not like it feels painful, it's just a very weird sensation. And then push-ups, but I guess that would be kind of a chest exercise, right? So those are the only two things I really can't do, or that I really don't still feel comfortable with doing. But other than that, I feel back to normal, and like I said, one of the best decisions I could have made for myself, so I'm really happy I did it. I will put two in this video. I'll put it right now, a little like before and after, like what I looked like before and what I looked like, or what I look like now, just so you guys can kind of see for reference what I mean when I say I had nothing to begin with. But like I said, if you have any questions for yourself and you just want them honestly answered, I will give you an honest answer. If you have made it this far in this video, thank you. I know it was a long video, so thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.